it's kind of scary that you could work your whole life building your career and working at your craft, and you make one wrong. And I'm not saying that, you know, obviously there are consequences for your actions, but I think that we shouldn't treat people like they're disposable.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna have a good show. I think we're gonna have a crazy show. We got my boy Nikki Paris here. We got Gabriela here, and you know, we're matching. We're wearing some dirty but delicate stuff. All right, guys, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3, wah! All right, you know I mentioned I don't want us to get canceled because that's like a thing right now, which brings us to today's big deal. All right, guys, cancel culture is kind of a thing right now. Now, you're a comedian. I want to get your take for sure, but first I want to hear from you. What do you think about the thing where, you know, if somebody finds something in your Twitter history or you say the wrong thing somewhere, and sometimes people are saying like awful things. I'm not condoning some of the things that people get caught saying, but do you think sometimes there's an overreaction or it's a justified reaction to be like, no, you know what, get them out of here, you're canceled?
I don't know, it's so hard. Like, I know there's like a limit to things, but what happens to the whole freedom of speech? It's our personal platform. We should be able to say what we want to say on our platform. And I feel like this whole cancel culture thing, they're trying to label it to justify it as a nice, proper way to maybe shame people, because I feel like it's like kind of like shaming people. No, but no, I feel like it is because people go, okay, so you're gonna complain about me saying a certain thing, but then you're gonna come and tell me cancel culture, you're gonna backfire with something even worse because of what I said. You got me? So I feel like it's just contradicting.
Yeah, sometimes it backfires. Sometimes it can be an overreaction because I think you can point out and saying, wow, that was really offensive. But then where does the person go? Is there a way back? So you're a comedian, so you're like in the thick of this. What are your feelings, especially with the previous, the Shane Gillis situation where he said something you know, awful about Asians or Chinese people on a podcast, and then they had hired him on SNL, but then they fired him. Now I will say this: does a brand have a right to protect its brand? And say, you know, this isn't part of our brand. Freedom of speech, but this is not part of our brand, so, you know.
Of course, but why wouldn't they do the research beforehand before they offered him the job?
Right.
You know what I mean? I hope none of those people ever get into like forensics because they clearly missed a few steps. I mean, comedians, I'm wearing a muzzle every time I go on stage. Now all of a sudden I'm a pantomime. I'm not saying anything, no spoken word, I'm afraid to say anything. I think that comedians, you know, I think comedy personally, you could say as long as it's funny.
Right.
That's the test. As long as it's funny. But you know what I mean? You're gonna cancel a comedian, cancel the president.
Yes.
Cancel somebody who actually has the power to hurt people.
Right. Well, look, I will say this. The way that I react to, like, for instance, if somebody makes a joke about Cubans, about my community, that can be construed as racist, I'll have one of two reactions depending on this. Is it ignorant? Is it ignorant and hateful? Because if someone makes a joke and you can tell they don't really understand your culture, and they have a certain distaste that's obvious in the joke they're making, that pisses me off. But if someone goes to Miami and hangs out with my people for a couple weeks and they want to make a joke about how loud and obnoxious we are because they know us and it's not hateful, like they get it, I can take that kind of joke. I think that's kind of, you know, so I think that we can explore, you know, certain jokes, and a lot of times we gotta also understand, you know this as a comedian, sometimes you make a joke you don't mean.
Right.
Yeah,
and I agree with what you say about distaste too. I think it's in the tone.
Yeah.
I think that if there's a malicious tone, that's very different. If you're saying it with pure humorous intent, but I agree completely what you said about the tone and how it's said.
Well, how are comedians like you know, you hang out at the Comedy Store, the Improv, and so I think that there's actually becoming like a division within comedy itself. There's some comedians that want to completely cross the line and they're actually doing it gratuitously. You know, we saw successful specials with Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr, but they couldn't be canceled because they had that high platform. But
well, they did try to go for David Chappelle.
Okay.
Dave Chappelle got a lot of backlash with his last special because he made jokes about trans people and a lot of jokes about Michael Jackson. And I'm actually really looking forward to seeing Eddie Murphy's return.
Oh. What? So he's gonna do another special?
He's doing another special. Yeah. He's back in comedy.
His old specials were like, wow, by today's standards, like, holy moly. You know, but I think that with Eddie Murphy, why is it that people understand, that was him in the 80s? Hold on. Okay, ready?
Is that Donovan on a chair?
That's on. Ready? One more time. Eddie, hold on. I gotta make a note here. Eddie Cardenas, did you hear that? That was a door slam and we all stopped. You gotta cut that out up until this point. But you know, like with Eddie Murphy, they give like him a chance. They're like, oh, well, that was him in the 80s. They allow that to be in the past. Why is it that other people don't get that opportunity? Is it because they're not famous enough?
Well, in an interview with the New York Times, they asked him about his old comedy specials, and he said that it was obviously ignorant, which I think that's great that at least that he could admit that. There was a lot of jokes about gay people and, you know, a lot of using the F word, you know what I mean? But I think that I at least admire that he said that it's ignorant, but he's a comedian.
Yeah.
But I'm nervous for him to see what the next special is going to be
I think
like.
it's going to be safe. What do you think about apologies? Do you think that when people apologize, it's a sincere apology? And do you think it's enough for someone to apologize and at that point we just move on? Like if somebody says something racist or sexist or they tweeted something mean, should they apologize, number one? And number two, do you think that those apologies are genuine?
Oh, I can't speak for someone. I feel like, you know, apologize. If it's coming like genuinely and you're attacking a big community and you're constantly getting attacked,
Let me make this closer to you. Let's say, like, who's made like the most off-color Mexican jokes that are like obnoxious? Has you ever seen a comedian that just said awful things about Mexicans and you were like, oh my God, I hate them?
No, it's because I'm not someone to get offended. Like I find things funny.
Okay.
You know, I'm not that type of person. I'm not sensitive like that. And I just feel like there's so much sensitivity nowadays for anything that's spoken of. And you can't just like find humor in things. Like you said, it's the way you address it and how like it comes out. And I don't know, I feel like I know something happened with Katy Perry recently. Right? Like
what were the details? You're a Katy Perry fan, so you know this.
Yeah.
What happened with Katy
something
Perry?
happened with Katy Perry, right?
She said something like, Christian. Oh
No,
she
it was
made
like
the
the
guy.
man.
She kissed the guy without his consent, which is another thing. That's not so much cancel culture. Now that's like the Me Too thing, like with a woman.
Yeah.
But do you think apologies are genuine or necessary?
I think that it's most often the PR people, but I think that also I don't like that we could just cancel people and treat people that they're disposable. That it's kind of scary that you could work your whole life building your career and working at your craft and you make one wrong. And I'm not saying that, you know, obviously there are consequences for your actions, but I think that we shouldn't treat people like they're disposable.
Yeah. I think people deserve a second chance and sometimes a third chance. You know, and like I said, it comes from ignorance. If people educate themselves and they know what they're talking about and what they're making fun of, then it's not as bad. I think it's when people just off the cuff think being mean is funny, and they're mean in a way that shows that they don't really even know who they're being mean to. That distance.